Since I've spoken out about this on my Instagram, I've dead ass lost followers, and the only word I have for that is good. So today I had a old school friend get in contact with me. We have not spoken for years. I wouldn't even say we were necessarily close friends, but she basically said that she's been thinking about me a lot recently because she is disgusted by the memories she has of racism that I experienced in my school. I put it on my Twitter and I put it on my Instagram, and I'm not gonna lie, I knew that people were gonna be like, oh God, you know, that's awful. But I was so actually taken aback by how shocked and surprised people are. So this is to all the people that think racism doesn't exist, because you know, they haven't experienced it. I went to a private school, so this may have been a reflection of like the economic status of the people in the area, but there was no diversity. It was basically me. There was eventually, towards my later years in school, another boy in my year who was also a person of colour. There was also for a few years one black girl in my year too. Being called Packy at school for me would have been a good day. It was a completely regular occurrence. Even people I considered my friends would be like, hey, Packy. I didn't even bat an eyelid to it in the end. I was just so used to it. People would say it in passing, you know, like, oh, Niecy's a Packy, or they would call me Packy directly and expect me to answer to that as if that was my name. I was also called the N-word multiple times. I've also been given by two different people who don't know each other the nickname Black Buddy. Like, you know, I'm their token buddy of, I remember being like 12 years old, 11, 12, you know, that age where everyone's kind of like, oh, I'm starting to fancy people, and you know, everyone's getting flirty basically, and the boys were obviously hugging all of the girls at break time, and I was thinking, oh yes then, time for me to get a hug from a man, and I was literally told by this boy that he won't hug me in case he gets brown on him, in case my skin transfers onto his. Another time as well, I had like something on the collar of my school shirt, I don't know what it was, it must have been brown in colour, I don't know, it was like a stain here, and this boy literally said in front of everyone, what's that? And I was like, you know, I don't know, it's just something on my shirt, like I'll wash it tonight, what's your issue? He was like, look, all her brown is melting off onto her shirt, maybe the rest of her brown will melt off by the end of the day. Of course, these same boys are the ones that slid into my DMs when I was in my 20s telling me they always thought I was attractive. Please. There was this one boy that at one point, it was literally like every single day, because I'd wait for it, he would come up to me and say, Niecy, what's your favourite food? To which I would reply, it's pasta, because a bitch loves pasta. And he would always say, what do you mean your favourite food isn't curry? So when you go home, you don't just eat curry? No, darling, I love Italian food, I eat all sorts. Just because I'm brown doesn't mean I live and breathe curry, but even if I did, why are you saying this? I would, and still sometimes do, I would dread meeting new people because I'd always get that question, you know, so where are you from? I was born in Coventry. No, but like, you know, where are you from? Like originally. Niecy, how are you Indian but don't have an Indian accent? By the way, I'm not Indian. Why is your mum, a white woman, married to your dad, a brown man? Why is that? Someone at school actually said to me once, as if it was a compliment, you know, Niecy, you're actually the only brown person I like. Sorry, that one gets me. Once when I was about 14, 15, I was running to catch a train at New Street Station, and these two middle-aged white men literally shouted, look at that Packy running for the train. I stopped dead in my tracks. I stared at them. They were coming down the escalator. I was going up the escalator. We passed each other and they laughed in my fucking face. I've had to explain multiple times to an ex of mine why you cannot say the N-word, why you cannot call me the N-word, and why that word is still so powerful and not yours to use anyway. And why, this one's weird, every time you throw something, don't shout Allahu Akbar as if it's a bomb. You know, they're not good things, you're not funny. The same guy said to me once, wow, your friend, who was white, your friend is so loud. If you wouldn't have looked at her, you would have thought she was black. I was in the airport about 2 years ago going to New York with my university, and a white girl in my year was randomly chosen to have a stop and search. These things are very common, but she was really embarrassed by it, and she declared to the whole group, wow, I would have thought it was Niecy that would have got stopped and searched. That was when we were in the UK, and then when we actually got to the States, I had to stop for some reason. I can't remember why. I think I had some kind of trouble filling out some kind of form. Either way, everyone was waiting for me, and when I was approaching them, everyone was whispering like meh, 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 meh. And I was like, what's going on? And then one of my friends came up to me and was like, Niecy, were you just being, you know, stopped and searched? And I was like, no, I was literally just filling out a form. And she was like, oh, the girl that was annoyed she was getting searched in the airport in London, she told everyone that you were getting searched in New York, because obviously I'm gonna get searched because I'm brown, because I'm clearly a terrorist. Another time when I was walking into college and my boyfriend was with a group of white boys, and immediately all of the boys, apart from my boyfriend, started absolutely like howling, like laughing, and I definitely felt like they were taking the piss out of me. So I was like, but what are you laughing at? No one could tell me, so I just ignored them, went straight into college. My boyfriend chased after me and he was like, I'm so sorry, babe. The reason why they're laughing is because they keep calling you an optician and they keep asking me if you're an optician. And I was like, sorry, I am 16 years of age. Of course I'm not an optician, like what do you mean? And he was like, yeah, they're just saying it because you're brown, and obviously most brown people are either doctors or opticians or dentists. He's trying to make me feel better, and he was like, just ignore them, you know, you are so hot even though you're brown, they just can't see it. You are so hot even though you're brown. There was another time at college where I got in a car with two girls which I trusted. One of them had been kind of like my best friend for like quite a few months at college, because we were in the same class and we sat together every day and blah 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 blah. Sorry, this one really gets me. I was sitting in the back of the car and these two girls suddenly start laughing, and I'm like, you know, what's so funny? And then I realised they were laughing at the car next to us. The car next to us was filled with a family full of brown people doing absolutely nothing wrong, literally just sitting there at the traffic lights, and these girls were laughing, and these girls really said, should we go and throw eggs at those packies? Like, they found the concept of throwing eggs at innocent brown people really, really funny. I sat in the back like, are you really gonna say that? And then are you really gonna say that with me right here? And they turn around and they were like, oh, sorry, Niecy, should we throw eggs at you too? Bitch. And then the girl wondered why I stopped going around to our house. Now this one's kind of weird, but just hear me out. When I started learning about World War II and, you know, the concentration camps and the detainment of people for being Jewish, I developed this fear that my dad was going to be sent to a concentration camp. Now obviously that was really very unlikely to happen, because it was all I ever knew. I always thought that I was, I guess, like a target. I would genuinely just sit at home and think, I don't know if my dad is going to come home today, because I know that people are racist to me, like children are racist to me at school. What if an adult is racist to my dad and they have, you know, a knife? I learned at school about the Holocaust, and then I was obsessed and I read so many books and I watched like every single film to do with it, and so I'd educated myself on how it kind of all began and how it all started with small microaggressions against Jewish people, and then it escalated. In a way, those like microaggressions and small racial attacks became the norm, so then it would like level up and get worse and worse and worse, if that makes sense. And because I was already experiencing racial attacks on my day-to-day as a child, I didn't know what it was like to be an adult walking around in the world as a person of colour. And I don't know, I just used to have this fear that my dad like wouldn't come home one day, or that we would be, or that me and my dad and my brother would be like taken to a camp and killed, because that's kind of just how I viewed the world. I just felt like I was out of place, because at that time, that was my experience. I did not have any friends that were people of colour. I was just in this white bubble, honestly, and it was so damaging. At school, people would laugh at all the people of colour in the RE books and say, oh look, it's Niecy's family. This hatred of like anyone that wasn't white was so internalised at this point with me that by the time I started wearing makeup when I was like just turning 12, you know, that kind of age, I really bought the lightest shade of foundation possible. Now don't get me wrong, you can see I'm very light skinned, but a bitch ain't ivory. I basically just wanted to be as light as possible. That was only for about a year. I did start buying darker foundation because I looked so stupid. Like I would look in the mirror and I would dead ass have like a white mask on my face. That looks ridiculous. It didn't match the rest of my body and I was still getting compliments on it because I look white. Do you know? That was honestly so damaging to my self-esteem, and it just got in my head even more. Like, being brown is ugly. Being brown is wrong. You are an anomaly. You are out of place. Like, white people, they look better than you, you know? I know as well, at one point there was a black girl at my school and she was only there for a few years, but she, when I think about the experiences she had, honestly, I feel sick. She used to do the same thing as me, like wear really light foundation, and she would also put concealer all on her arms so that in her school uniform, like, whatever you could see was, you know, lighter. Like that's how deep it was, you know? I also used to get compliments from people in my family, both white and brown, basically commending me for my light skin tone and saying that the darker girls in my family would love to look like me, because obviously everyone wants to be light, and the lighter you are, the more attractive you are. And that, I mean, I remember getting in a debate once with someone who of course is no longer my friend, but they basically were saying that they don't have any black friends because they think black people are unfriendly. And I questioned that and I was like, okay, why do you think black people are unfriendly? Do you not think that, you know, just some people, no matter what their colour, are unfriendly? And I was like, you know, nothing to do with race. And he really said to me, no, every single black group of people that I have met and seen in the street, they all look at me, they're not very welcoming. And he said that he thinks it's because they are, this is a quote, still bitter about slavery. A few years ago, there was a rape incident. A girl was raped in a park near to me, and when I was speaking to someone about it, they said that it's all the immigrants, it's the Turkish. And I challenged that and I said, you know, do you actually know that it was a Turkish person or an immigrant or even, you know, someone that isn't white? And they were like, no, I don't actually know that. They were like, no, I don't know it for fact, but I know that it's very likely to be a Turkish person because that's what they come over here and do. The thing is though, is he was saying that to me because I feel like because I am mixed race, or because I have a white mum, or I don't know what it is, but a lot of racist people seem to feel like they can also be racist in front of me and I'm okay with it, like I'm a special brown girl that like doesn't care. And I don't know where the fuck that impression has come from. Like there's just an attitude of like, oh yeah, those brown people, but not you, Nisi, but those brown people are really awful, but not you. And I'm supposed to take that as a compliment, like, oh my god, I'm so glad these white people think I'm not one of them. What the fuck? What the fuck? So these are just a handful, and by no means all of the experiences that I had with racism and prejudice due to my skin colour growing up all the way to now. Honestly, that school scarred me for life. These experiences I will never forget. I want to share my story because I have not been open about it. I have almost been embarrassed by the way I was treated and the way that I am sometimes still treated, which is disgusting, but that is another story for another day. They affected me so much. I will never forget. I will never forget the things that I went through as a younger person. And with all of that negative experience that I have, I still want to come here and say that I am not innocent. People of colour that aren't black are not all innocent, and there are things that we can learn. When I was younger, I definitely said the N-word, whether it was, I never actually called like someone it directly, and I would never use it in like a, you know, purposefully derogative way, but that's irrelevant. My intentions are irrelevant. I was uneducated and I would say the word like singing, like song lyrics, and I'd also say it in the sentence, say like, if I said like bitch please, I'd replace the word bitch and use it like that, and that is disgusting. It's not a word for me to use, and I think I felt like a sense of entitlement about it. I just used to think like, I can use that word because people were racist to me my whole fucking life. Like, I was and am angry. But that doesn't mean that I have experienced the same things as a black woman. This is what I'm here to say. I am not black. These are the things that I have experienced. Imagine what a black person has experienced. The Black Lives Matter movement is so important, and I just, in case you didn't know, this is not a new thing. The whole world's eyes were on the George Floyd case. This case has been, I guess, the breaking point, okay, for the Black Lives Matter movement, and finally, the world is listening. I had a few people say to me that they're not going to attend any protests because, you know, the police officers involved with the George Floyd case have been arrested and are going to be prosecuted, but the work is not done by any means. We still have so much to do. And what I'm trying to say here is your experiences with racism are valid, but if you are a person of colour, you cannot say that you have the same experiences as a black person, and we need to stand together and fight for justice. This cannot be a passing trend, okay? These protests need to continue until there is change, and change beyond just these 3 police officers being arrested. I've realised from sharing some of the small bits of my story on Twitter that so many people were shocked. Like my Instagram DMs right now are popping, right? And don't get me wrong, I appreciate the support, but I'm surprised that you're surprised, you know what I mean? Like, that ain't even the worst of it. It's so commonplace that maybe as a white person you might not even realise it, or maybe as a person of colour you might not even realise that towards a black person. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, that brings me to my final point. Please go beyond just talking about on social media. Please sign some petitions, do whatever you can. If you are in Leicester or the surrounding area, there is a peaceful protest at the Clock Tower on June 6th at 1 p.m. It's going to be a socially distanced protest, I believe, so please wear a mask. Okay, I'm going to go now, but I hope to see you there, and thank you for listening to my story. Oh, I said make some noise, not make it rain.